So thanks for joining us, you guys, for the presentation on accounting in the digital age, cybersecurity best practices for accounting. A little bit about me, and if you know me, you know that I hate having that picture of myself on the screen. But I am the founder and principal of Methodology IT. There's some certifications there for you guys just to let you know I hopefully know what I'm talking about. I have over 25 years of experience in helping clients navigate this space. And the reason that we're doing this is because through the years I've seen a lot and learned a lot of lessons and seen a lot of what people do to try to take money away from you. So hopefully the time that we spend today will just make you aware of some of the things that happen out there and things that we can do to prevent. So I want to lead with a story. I think you guys probably have seen this in the news, but recently there was a Chinese company that was defrauded, out of $25 million. Essentially, the CFO was on a Zoom call with some other folks in the company that had him wire some funds to some other account. He was on a call with three other individuals at the company, the three people that were, the three people above him that could authorize this transaction. And the only problem was they were all deep fakes. They weren't actually people. He was on a Zoom call with computer generated avatars that had enough information to convince him to wire this amount of money. This is the extreme example, but I lead with this just to say that there are things that I can easily figure out about each of your companies and use those to get you to do things that you probably should not do. So social engineering, is the root of a lot of the evils that we face today. Throughout this presentation, I want to make sure that you understand that pretty much all of your information is public record, including the company that you work for, your position, your work and personal email and phone numbers. And even with like the tools that I use for marketing, I can pretty much find out any information on any person in any company. And as an example, hackers and bad actors leverage this information to make money. This is their job. They go to LinkedIn, they go to other sites, they scrape information off the web, and they use that to find information about you and essentially try to take your money. So as an example, this is a product that we use for marketing purposes. I like to show people this because oftentimes, you'll receive an email and it will, it will know information about you that, clients will ask me, how did they get this information? Well, simply from this marketing tool, I'm able to find, my email address and my cell phone number and my office phone number. I actually removed my personal email address out of this because that was in there too. And the company and my position. And if you see in the bottom left-hand corner, it also links me to employees at the company, and I can go and find information about them. So as you can imagine, it's pretty easy to construct an email campaign against an employee of your company, right? Hey, this is Keith. I would like you to go and do this thing, and I know your name, and I can make my email look like it's from me. These are the things that bad actors do, and show you this just to let you know, like, hey, this information is pretty easy to get on any of us. So how can we protect ourselves? What are the things that we can do to protect ourselves against, the tools and the practices that, bad actors have? I always like to lead with MFA, or multi-factor authentication. Um, I have discussions with clients, and no one likes MFA. It's inconvenient. It's another step. No one wants to go through it, but I really like to kind of lead with MFA, with two-factor authentication, with multi-factor authentication. Like, it's a necessary evil. We have to turn it on every single account that you have. Anything that will allow MFA, we should in fact turn it on. I led with this picture. I love this little picture. Frank's Hot Sauce has a campaign they run where, we put it on everything. And I like to think of MFA like that. Yeah, we put it on everything. So one of the things that we've kind of adopted in recent times is we want you to have a company communication policy. Um, Ideally, we want you to never use text messaging within your company. And we want you to let everyone know, hey, I'm the boss. I'm never going to text you about anything work related. I just cannot do it. It is not a secure means of communication. I can't do it. So as part of your policy, we want text not to be used. Teams or Slack. There are some others, but those are the largest two. We want you to use a closed communication system like Teams or Slack. So other than email, we like for you to actually set up Teams or Slack within your company and use that, and definitely do not use text messaging. And then encryption, we want to make sure that anything that goes out over email is in fact, or any secure information that goes out over email is in fact encryption or encrypted. We have we have encryption available for you. We use something called Bracket. We can get into that, but if you need to send protected information via email, we want you to use encryption. And lastly, we do not want you to store or send any PII, any personally identical or identifiable information. So no passwords, no emails, no passwords, no social security numbers, nothing via email. We do not want you transmitting any of that via email. Okay. One of the biggest things, and actually I should stop. Any questions so far, anyone? Okay. All right, I'll stop here and there for questions. But one of the biggest things that we do as an MSP is we realize that we have to highly define user onboarding processes. So internally, if we onboard a user for one of our clients, like we have this highly defined process, and we do it the same way every time. And we want you to do the same thing. So leading your user onboarding process is you share the communication policy, like right from the start. We see, because of LinkedIn, because of social engineering, we see a lot of times that immediately as someone is hired, they will receive a text message that says, hey, this is me, your boss. I need you to go buy some Amazon gift cards and text me the codes to them. Like we see things like that all the time. We can control what comes via email, but we can't control what comes via people's personal cell phones. So as part of that user onboarding process, we want you immediately to identify the communication policy. We want you to say, hey, we're never going to text you. Like, hey, you're hired. We're never going to text you. Um, we like to, for onboarding and offboarding purposes, we like to utilize SSO, um, you know, single sign-on. Essentially, it is everything that your users have access to. We want to have them have one thing that they log into that authenticates them to everything. We like that because of the simplicity. I don't have a bunch of passwords, but we also like it because we can add you and take you away all at once. There's not a bunch of things for us to log you out of. And those things that can't be covered with SSO, we like to use a password manager, and I'll kind of show you what that is. The password manager of choice for us is Keeper. We have it available for you. The combination of those two things just really helps secure what access your staff has to the various accounts and things that you use. And then, most importantly, lastly, we document everything a user has access to. Oftentimes, we'll find that, people, when you offboard someone, you really have no idea of what they have access to. Backing up as part of the onboarding process is part of our internal onboarding process. If we give you access to something, like it's written down, it's recorded, so that we know if we have to offboard you, we can go back and check off all of the things that you have access to. There will be no surprises. Okay. So we talked about Keeper. These are some screenshots from Keeper. It's a pretty simple password management system. The concept here is I can build up a vault of passwords of access to things, of banks and vendor accounts, and I can share access to them individually or per folder, per group. I can share access, so I can define a login to a bank, for instance, or a vendor ordering system, and I can share it with folks in my company, and they can use it through Keeper, but they're not going to know the username or the password. They'll just be able to access it. But when I want to take away their access, they won't have access anymore. They won't be able to go home and log into the bank account because they can only access it through Keeper, through this password manager. And on a user's side, they'll have a portal that looks something like this. So they'll see the things that they have access to. There's different views of this. They can view it by folder, but they'll be able to click the things. They can click the bank and log into it, but they'll never know what that set of credentials is. So that's Keeper. Any questions so far?
Are there any password managers or places people put passwords that you wouldn't recommend?
It's a very good question. We like Keeper. It's a secure password vault. We actually discourage users from storing passwords in their browser. We all do it. It's very convenient, but we don't want you to store your passwords in Chrome or in Firefox because we can easily extract those passwords. So, a bad actor can take a website and, do some things to that site and have the ability to pull passwords out of your browser. So for that reason also, we like using things like Keeper. It's more secure than what your browser can do.
Thanks.
All right. So moving along. Looking in the right place. Just as we want you to have a strong user onboarding process, we also want you to have a strong user offboarding process. If we're able to limit credentials to SSO and password managers, It's just easy for us to offboard a person all at once. We can take away access to everything at the same time. We want you to have the ability to lock a computer and to remove company data from any employee-owned device. So as part of your offboarding capabilities, what we do internally is, when someone's offboarded, we can remove any and all information from their iPhone that has to do with the company. So, take the Microsoft account away from, user's iPhone, and we can lock the computer instantly. And we want you to have like a predefined or predetermined method to collect, your company-owned equipment. So when we onboard users, and we do this a lot, we'll mail laptops, for instance. In the box is a return label, and we'll encourage users to keep the box and the label in case they ever have to send the equipment in for repair. Truthfully, we also have it there in case of offboarding. You can put the label on the outside of the box, and we can arrange for a UPS pickup. Very simple. It's important to just have these processes defined so that once you need them, you've got everything in place. Okay. Moving along. Counting policies. Just as we define onboarding and offboarding processes for our users, I don't think most people think about this, but you should have a process for your vendors and your clients as well. We want you to collect at least 2 contacts, for all of your vendors and clients, including their name, email address, and phone numbers. We'd like you to have some method of authentication. So we call it 2-factor. That can be as simple as, hey, I've collected the phone number for my contact at my vendor. So if I receive an email from them, I can also call the number that I have stored and verify that the request came from them. And we want you to confirm your communication policy with your vendors and clients. We want them to understand this is how you operate. And I have a story about this. We had a nonprofit come to us and say, hey, this happened to us. We received an email from our landlord, and it instructed us to no longer send our rent payments where we were sending them, but instead to send them to this new bank account. So they got the email, they showed it to me, it looked official, it looked like it came from their landlord. They proceeded to change their ACH settings for their landlord, and they paid their rent. And after 3 months of paying rent, which for them, for the facility, was something on the order of $70,000, their landlord contacted them and said, we haven't been receiving your payment. And they went back and figured out that, essentially they got an email to change the place that they were sending payment. No one authenticated that email. They took it to be, the word of their landlord. When we investigated, their landlord's email system had been compromised. So someone had been sitting in the landlord's someone in their accounting department's emails and had sent this type of request out to lots of their clients. Because no one stopped to call a known contact, not the phone number in the email, because if I'm going to do this, I'm going to put a fraudulent number in the email as well. But no one had stopped to call the landlord to say, hey, did you really want us to change our payment or method? And so, they essentially lost this $70,000 worth of money. The landlord still collected rent from them. They still had to come up with that. But it just drives home this point that it's important to have some second way of verifying requests and to make sure that everyone in the chain understands that this is how we do it. Any questions?
I guess for the landlord, was there any I don't know, what action did they take?
The landlord would still do the payment. Like the client in this case, or they became a client, but the client in this case had to collect their money via insurance. Like the landlord hadn't received their money, so anyone that didn't pay them still had to pay them. Okay. And again, it's important to have a vendor or client offboarding process. We work with folks all the time, and it's interesting to me to see, like, after you offboard a vendor or a client, most folks don't mark them as inactive in their QuickBooks or whatever system they're using, right? And it's one of those things, like, if I'm no longer paying you, I should not be visible in the system that I use to pay vendors. I think a lot of folks miss that step, but again, it just takes away the ability to have something like that happen. And then, for whatever reason, one of the things that we see happen the least is communication within a department. So I say communicate with key accounting staff. If you offboard a client, if you offboard a vendor, make sure you talk about it. It's just interesting to me to see that communication doesn't happen as often as you would think it does. And then lastly, maybe extreme, but in some cases, clients will have us remove the ability of a offboarded vendor or client to even communicate with the staff. So if you're no longer paying a vendor, for instance, we can forward all of the emails from that person to one person, or we can just reject them. Again, removing the possibility of money leaving your account that shouldn't be. Okay. So moving along. AP. What I find with most of the companies that we talk to is there's too many ways for money to leave your accounts. Oftentimes, folks will have physical checks, and they'll have some sort of electronic check, and they'll have credit cards, and maybe they send some wires, and maybe there's even another process that they have to send money out to vendors or whomever they're paying. And we like to talk to you about really just minimizing the number of ways that money can leave the accounts. So internally, we have one way that we pay bills, and everything has to funnel through that one system. I'll talk about that. So we use bill.com for that. It's a very simple way to receive invoices and pay vendors. But from a security standpoint, like, there's one point. So nothing can sneak around this process. It either goes through bill.com or it does not happen. Through the years, for anything related to a bank wire, what we like to do is say that there's an in-person verification that has to happen. And it's not always possible, but ideally, if someone's going to wire funds, we like the verification to happen in person. Like, I actually see you. At very least, again, we're going to old school. We're going to call the phone number that we already have stored for a person and talk to them. But ideally, that happens in person. And I'm going to show you a little bit of what bill.com is. So bill.com is pretty neat. Vendors that email, or that invoice us, I should say, they send an email directly to our bill.com mailbox. And it looks something like this. Someone's able to receive the invoice, receive the email. You can see it in the portal. Bill.com OCR is the invoice that comes in. It fills in a lot of the fields for us, but we're able to go and fill out the remaining fields. You know, this links to our QuickBooks, so we're able to specify what account something goes to and the amount and anything we would put into our accounting system. We just do it right here in the portal. And then as an approver, I have a screen that I can use, and I'm simply approving and paying invoices. I can see everything in one place. It's a very easy process for me. I'm not holding paper checks and signing a stack. But from a security standpoint, everything has to go through this process. There are people that see this, and if something is out of the ordinary, the system will flag it. But I can see this and understand, like, no, that's not something that we normally do. So we really like Bill.com as a way to replace your other methods of payment.
So when you use your Bill.com, do you have Bill.com send a check, or do you have them send directly into the vendor's account?
Yep. So it's both. So when I sign a vendor up with Bill.com, one of the things that it does that I really like is it collects your tax information. So I don't have to chase you for that. And from there, an email goes out to the vendor. If you do nothing, they will mail a physical check to you. If you open the email and you opt in, you can put your information in and you can receive an ACH payment. And the reason you would do that is you just get your payment faster. The minute I press pay, that payment is available and will go to you, within that day. Otherwise, you'll get a paper check. But it's a nice platform. I can go here and see all of the payments. It integrates with QuickBooks or whatever your accounting system is. The vendors themselves can log back in and see all the payment history. So I don't have to chase down the fact that, if I paid you or not. You can go right to the portal and see the payment history. Any other Bill.com questions?
No, but I do have a question regarding invoicing.
In Bill.com or?
And it was your previous, did you just covered invoicing right before this?
Yeah, let me see
Yeah,
if
but we
I
could
know
go
how
back
to
late
go.
after you're
Let me
done.
see if I know how to go backwards. There we go. So anyone who invoices us, we have an email address. It's methodologyit@bill.com, and they send it there.
Oh.
And it comes in and it OCRs it. And if you've sent us one already, it understands, like, it knows, okay, this is the account that you get paid out of. So it fixes up the fields and fills in most of them. And someone on the staff still goes through and looks at it, but they'll prepare it. And once it's ready, they'll press a button and now it's visible to me. And the way we've set up our workflow, I am the approver. So I don't touch this part of it, but when they're ready, I look at them all and I say approve. And from there, someone else actually pushes pay. I could push pay, but I just approve. I actually do it from my iPhone. I don't even do it from a computer. And the mailbox looks like this. It's easy to set up. It's easy to link with your bank account. It's easy to link with your QuickBooks or whatever your payment software is. And then I just look at a screen that looks like this, and I'll go in and approve bills. Or if I don't approve them, I'll write some message back. Hey, why is this so high? Hey, reach out to the vendor and ask them to change this. And that goes back to the bookkeeper that manages this for me, and they'll do that work. And once I'm ready to approve, I just approve, again, mostly from iPhone, and it's handled from there.
Okay.
Okay. And we can do a demo of Bill.com for you. It's pretty neat. Okay. Payroll software. Another point of attack that we see a lot is the email that says, "Hey, this is Keith. Can you please update my bank account on for payroll? Send my payments here now." And what we recommend is take yourself out of the equation there. Use a payroll system. We use Gusto. We like it. There are other systems, but with Gusto, our employees completely manage that process. I don't have to send you W-2s. I'm not logging in and changing your banking info. You manage that completely on your own. So it takes away the ability of someone to trick me into sending a payment somewhere else. And lastly, change process. The gotchas that we see out in the world are when there's not a policy defined, when the exception happens and someone just makes a decision. And what we want you to do is really to train your staff that that's not how we operate. If there's something that happens that's out of the ordinary, we want at least one senior staffer to look at it and verify it. Like, hey, yes, you can proceed this way. And really, once that exception happens, we want you to go back to your policy, your written policy document, and build that into your policy so that the next time it happens, the staffer knows what to do. And that is the end of my presentation. So, are there any other questions?
Thanks, Keith, for scaring us.
I stay awake at night.
I know, right? I just read about somebody else getting their money stolen. It's just crazy from their bank account. So my question was, as a company, when we send our invoice to our clients via email,
Yes.
right? And then we do actually have a way to send it via our core program that we use for project management.
Yes.
But what do you recommend to your clients regarding sending invoices out?
So Bill.com will actually send invoices for you as well, and it will integrate with some apps. And I have clients that use Bill.com both for sending and receiving invoices, and it's a nice closed system, so we can look at that. I think the biggest thing that I try to convey to someone though is understand like all of the potential attack vectors, right? So when you onboard that client, you really need to have a discussion with them. This is the method of payment that we're setting up, and we're never going to change this. If for some reason we do, I surely am going to call you and tell you this. I'm never going to email you that you should send your payment in a different way. It's just not going to happen. That's the biggest takeaway that I want you to take from this. But we could look at how you send them now and look at Bill.com. I was hesitant at first. I didn't want to receive payment via Bill.com when someone sent it to me. I wanted them to use the way that I had set up. But it's a nice closed system, and over time, it makes it easier. So we can look at that for you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I think that's all for me.
Okay. All right. Well, we will end there, but I appreciate each of you taking the time. Like I said, if you take anything away from this, just understand, like, yes, there is a way to, with just the information that's out on the web, to understand exactly who you are and who you deal with, and craft the perfect email to make you think that I am a legitimate person trying to take money from you, and treat every transaction just with that understanding. Like, how do I verify that this is legit? Okay. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.